Hello, Steeler Nation, and welcome to the Steel Syndicate podcast. And we are very fortunate tonight to be joined by a very special guest, Coach Corey Burton from the Bleav in Georgia Dawgs podcast. He's also a high school offensive coordinator, I think it is, for Hillwood High School. Welcome, Corey. How are you, man?
Man, I'm great. I'm excited to be here. We're a 3-continent show tonight, so I'm excited about that. I'm excited to come on and expand our brand and chop it up with you guys.
Yeah, it's great to have you. Great to have you. You're also a Tennessee Titans fan and Falcons fan, was it, in the NFL?
Yeah, my two most recent hometowns. Grew up in Atlanta, so lifelong Falcons fan. Moved up to Nashville about 15 years ago. It's kind of hard when you live in an NFL city to not be a fan of that NFL team. So I kind of just fell into it. But both organizations have been great to root for. It's kind of like a 1A, 1B type situation.
Yeah.
And if they ever play each other, that's where I'm really torn, I guess. So it's been a lot of fun, though. Mike Vrabel for the Titans, ever since they hired him, I think that the organization is just going this way.
Yeah,
so.
Definitely agree. And obviously, we've got our co-host Mark in Australia. Mark, how's it going, mate?
Yeah, pretty good. I just want to ask Corey quick questions. So, Corey, you're a Falcons fan. You grew up with the Michael Vick days. How were they?
Dude, when I say exciting, it's probably an understatement. It's the Michael Vick experience was, it was a brand. Just watching him play, you were on the edge of your seat all of the time. I was even a kid when Prime was roaming the defensive backfield for the Falcons. Old Deion Sanders. So he's my favorite player of all time. Deion
Prime
Sanders.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's a coach now. He's a coach at Jackson State University. He's in the college game. So he's doing
I would say he'd be full of energy too, prime time. I just know him kind of like of the shows and stuff like that. He's always, on fire. But the Falcons, they're a funny team. I know we're going to talk about some Steelers and George Pickens, but the Falcons are a funny franchise. They haven't been the same, have they, since Super Bowl 51?
No, they've been going steadily downhill since then. The 28-3 thing just crippled the franchise. And a franchise that's already fragile because up until 2008, they never had back-to-back winning seasons, as crazy as that is. They draft Matt Ryan and stabilize that at least. But, it's just it's a difficult franchise to root for. And if you're a Falcons fan, you're a true fan because there is no bandwagon.
I was there. I went to I've been to Super Bowl 50 in the city and Super Bowl 51 in Houston. I was there in a bar and I was watching the game as they're up by 28-3, and I couldn't believe the comeback. I was like, you absolutely had this game in your hands, and you threw the ball. You had the catch with Julio Jones, one of the best catches ever seen in life, right? And then you backpedal, get sacked, and all you had to do was run the rock and get some yards in first downs, and a field goal wins that game.
Yeah, absolutely.
I could not believe the comeback.
Yeah, it was. The strip sack of Dante Hightower on Matt Ryan gave them a possession earlier in that fourth quarter. That got them within striking distance, and then of course, they're down 8. They got the clock is against them. All you got to do is kick a field goal. You go up 11 with probably a minute and a half left. At that point, you're able to bleed that much clock. And just couldn't get it done. But, when you have Julio Jones and you've won a certain way all season long, you kind of just go with what your identity is. And that's what he does. So, was it terrible? Yeah. Should he have run the rock? Yeah, probably. But then again, you're going to live and die throwing it. So, and that's just what they did.
And I've got to say, as a Steelers fan as well, it was gutting because it was Tom Brady winning the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that was right?
Oh, and before you fire the questions away, one more off the topic question. Can that guy retire already? So done.
That dude's going to be 55 years old and playing for – I think his goal now is to play for every NFL franchise.
Hopefully not ours. I will take the year off. If he's a Steeler. I'm just sick of seeing him. I've been watching the game for 20 years. And he's been on my TV screen the whole time. So done with Tom Brady. We get it. You're a winner. And he still thinks there's a chip on my shoulder. No, there's not, mate. You've got no chip on your shoulder. You're the best.
Yeah, 7 Super Bowls, man. Come on.
I think I saw somewhere. I think it was on Pittsburgh Dad. He was saying that somewhere there's a picture of Tom Brady that's aging, and he's the one that's staying young. We've got to find that picture and destroy it.
Yeah, that would be a great find.
And then he's going to Fox. He's going to Fox next year or something like that. Whenever you finish, Tom, come to Fox. What the?
for a
Just give it up.
record-breaking deal too, like $350
Tom
million
is going
over
to be
10
in our
years.
lives forever.
Yeah, Tom Brady's going to be on your screen even more. Be used to it. Wrap your head around it. It's going to happen. You're just going to have to watch CBS, I guess. Or
I can't even stand Tony Romo. I'm not a big fan of Tony Romo talking, so let alone
just have to watch it on mute.
Yeah, I'll just check. I'll just watch the game cast like on the website where the arrow goes up and down, like I used to when I was a kid because I couldn't watch some football.
Mm-hmm.
But Tom Brady, mate, hang up the cleats. But
or you just find the Steelers radio broadcast and watch it.
They're good. They're when we had Tunch there too. Rest in peace, Tunch. But Tunch and Wolf and those fellas were pretty good. The only thing is it doesn't match up with the video. That's the hardest part.
I
like
faster.
that. Yeah, I like. I think it's Bill Hargrove, the fella.
Mm-hmm.
They're much better. They're so much better. If I was working overseas, like if I was working in Pittsburgh, driving around, I would put them on and just listen to them.
Yeah, I mean the Titans radio is the same way. Mike Keith is a legendary broadcaster. He broke through. He kicked the door open with the Music City Miracle call. So whenever you get a chance, go look that up. It's one of the legendary radio calls in NFL history. So, but yeah, I mean that might be the solution. But Tom Brady certainly is going to be in your face. until he's not, or he might pull a Drew Brees, broadcast for 1 year and then go do something else and maybe come back again.
Just stay at home with your family.
I mean, the dude's married to a Brazilian supermodel, for goodness sake. Stay at home.
And she's worth more than he is. That's the crazy part.
Giselle Bundchen. Yeah, no, it's crazy, man. Crazy times.
Man, it's I don't know. He was retired for 40 days. I guess he got tired of it.
Yeah. Got tired of school runs and being told what to do at home.
Exactly. He's like, well, screw this. I'll go back and play. Less stressful.
Yeah, exactly, man. Exactly.
Got bored, so.
Cool. Should we move on and talk a bit about the main guy that we're going to talk about? Let's talk about George Pickens. Let's say as a Steeler fan, I was absolutely over the moon with the pick of George Pickens. I'm so excited to see this guy play, Corey. How did you first become aware of George Pickens, and what were your first impressions of him?
Well, George Pickens, when Georgia was recruiting him, his college team was recruiting him. I'm a fan of. I graduated from University of Georgia, and we recruited him and signed him out of high school in Birmingham, Alabama. And just watching him come in as a freshman and just completely dominate a veteran receiver room just told me, first of all, like, this guy's tough. This guy's an alpha. This guy's going to come in and he's going to be the guy. And there's not going to be anybody that can stop him. His talent level, his speed, his burst, his jumping ability, just everything jumped out at the page at you and stood out. And that's kind of his first impression. And then he just built from there, and unfortunately took a really serious knee injury in spring practice coming into his junior season. So he missed a whole season's worth of valuable NFL tape. But doesn't seem to matter now. He's a second-round pick, and he's headed to a very, very stable and great organization.
So a lot of Steeler fans obviously are drawing comparisons between him and Hines Ward, not just because obviously Hines Ward was a Georgia Bulldog as well, but also because of the way that they both play the game. Do you see that as a good comparison between the two of them? Do you see similarities?
A lot. Yeah, they're both extremely physical receivers. They love to block downfield. They just love contact, and they love making catches in traffic. They're not scared at all, and they just kind of take over. Like you would see Hines Ward fourth quarter of a lot of games just take over when something needed to happen. George Pickens is the same way. If you need a big catch over the middle, George Pickens is your guy. If you need a contested catch on the sideline in the fourth quarter, when there's two guys draped on you and you have to contort your body to catch it behind you, that's George Pickens. And that's what you're going to get. It's just a gritty, tough, loves contact type receiver, and that's where their similarities are. Now, obviously, Pickens has better physical abilities than Hines Ward as far as playing the ball in the air and playing the ball down the field, but they both love the contact, and they're both really tough guys.
Yeah, I mean, Hines Ward was an absolute legend for the Steelers, and obviously if George Pickens can even 90% follow in his steps, like 60%, he'll be absolutely awesome. I think, one of the things that some has been leveled at George Pickens has been around his attitude and question marks over that, which I personally think is very unfair. what do you think of those questions that have been raised, Corey?
Well, if you look at his incidents, a lot of them were back when he was like fresh out of high school. Like he was a freshman when he rammed the guy into the wall. I mean, just got into a fight. And that happens. It's a little bit of immaturity, a little bit of lack of judgment, but I mean, you see very few of those instances, so it's not very. I don't think it's a problem. I don't think it's an issue. I just think he lost his cool. They've been going at it, all game. And Israel and I talked about this on our show this past week about kind of the unfair criticisms that he gets with his attitude. He's kind of a quirky guy, kind of a quirky, funny, sarcastic personality, kind of a prankster. So the water bottle incident, I think he was just trying to be funny and just kind of talk trash to the Tennessee quarterback. The fight, I mean, that could happen. You see it in training camp all the time. You see those type of fights. Two guys just going at each other, and the dam just breaks.
Well, we saw that with Claypool and Minka Fitzpatrick last year. They had a bit of a scuffle. So I think for me with the Steelers now, like we do need some, good characters in there, because what we had with the great Antonio Brown, that kind of went haywire. I was a little bit against the water bottle thing, but that's me looking from the outside in. Like I'm not where you are. I'm all the way in Australia, and I see like a 30-second Twitter thing. I like the physicality. I like how aggressive he is. I think you need that in football, because I think it's not played that way anymore. Like Deebo Samuel is starting to really amp it up and say, well, I can be a running back now. I can run through your face if you want to, and I'm not going to stop. So I like that from him. But what do you see? Is he a team first guy, a team first mentality, or is he all about me kind of player?
No, I mean, I think he's a team first guy. I mean, you look at what he didn't have to come back from his knee injury. He didn't have to come back to play against Georgia Tech and the SEC championship and then the Orange Bowl and national championship game run. He didn't have to come back and do any of that. Georgia was well enough off without him. I mean, they could have made do. He came back to compete for the University of Georgia, so he could A, probably get some tape on film, but B, he really just enjoys that team atmosphere and just enjoys the competition aspect of it. He wasn't featured as a receiver because he probably played at best 75-80%, just being able to rehab on that knee. But I just think he loved it that much, and he just loved his teammates that much that he wanted to come back. Most guys probably wouldn't have. He probably would have just said, all right, so long, Bulldog Nation. He probably would have said that back in March when he injured his knee. He didn't have to do that.
He's more about the team than his stats. Like we know that from history. That like I think, and we have a discussion here on the Syndicate. Who was the greatest wide receiver? I think hands down it's AB. Even though he's crazy now, he's gone beyond. Beyond the fourth wall. I don't know where he's going, right? But
he's off the deep end.
If you watch his Instagram, you can't not watch it. It's like a car crash.
Oh yeah,
you don't know what you're looking at,
Yeah.
But is Pickens going to be? Is he worried about stats, or if he gets 2 balls a game and he's just there to play football? Like I think that nowadays. I think teams miss guys who can just play football. Like, it doesn't matter what position they play. Like, just go out there and play. If it's tight end, if it's on the slot, if it's on the outside, if you're in the game to be at a halfback and not even get the ball. And you're a coach too. Like, is he a football guy? Like, go out there and play football and not just worry about, you have to be the deep threat, or, you know what I'm saying? Like, is he just for the team?
I think so. Go look at the Orange Bowl. There's a couple of plays that personify that where he's blocking on the perimeter. He goes up and shushes the corner and then goes and just tosses him into the sideline. I think he enjoys that as much as he does making catches. But, I mean, ultimately he's a wide receiver, so the stats will probably come into play a little bit. And I don't know if money will change any of that. But if the team is winning and he's feels like he's a part of it, he'll be all about it. But, human nature, if you feel like you can do it and the game's not coming your way, and then you're losing on top of that, maybe it gets a little frustrating. But I don't think that's how he's wired. I think he has to reach that certain point. I think it takes him a little bit longer to get to that point, as any other wide receiver probably would be like, okay, I'm out.
I just checked. He's only 21 years old. I didn't know how young he was.
Yeah, I mean, he
is really young.
He spent 3 years at Georgia. I mean, he spent his college playing career in a very mature organization. So, I think Kirby Smart has done a great job of instilling some of those off the field intangible qualities. Like being a team first guy, like hey, get in where you fit in. The game will come to you. Just be patient. Do your thing, and it'll come to you. And the coaching staff, Matt Canada, Mike Tomlin, they'll see kind of what he can do, and they'll make sure that the game goes through him. And I think he'll surpass Chase Claypool, and I think he'll be the guy, and he'll do some great things.
In terms of the sort of wide receiver he is, where's the best place to use Pickens? Where is he most effective? Because I've heard him. He talked about being used on the outside, but also he said about in training being used in the slot. So where's the best place the Steelers can use Pickens? I
mean, the best place right away is on the outside, but moving him around, getting matchups, getting him on safeties, things like that. I mean, he plays really well across the middle on post patterns. But I mean, if you really want a quick solution, throw him on the outside, throw him some fade balls. Let him go make a few plays, and then develop him in the slot. I think if you're looking at what George Pickens needs to improve on as he progresses through his pro career, is being able to move around in the formations and being able to play from different spots in the offense. I think if he can do that, he'll be a more complete player. But right now, as a rookie, stick him on the outside and just let him go.
Definitely.
That
definitely.
Sounds good, doesn't it?
Yeah,
definitely agree with that. Yeah,
you'll get some great plays there.
So obviously, he went in the second round of Steelers at pick 52. Do you think if he has no ACL injury last year, he's a first rounder?
I mean, he's a first round talent. I think it was a very deep receiver class to begin with, and then you had 5 edge guys that were all top of the first round. You had like 4 or 5 offensive linemen, some corners, some inside linebackers. I mean, you had a lot of defensive players within that first round. I think if there's just half as many defensive players that were in that elite first round category, he probably would have gone in the second half of the first round.
Well, I've got a question for you, Corey, mate. I was looking through the draft, right? How does it work when the Georgia Bulldogs, you lost like 11 players to the draft, right?
Mm-hmm. No, 15.
15.
Yeah, we had 15 drafted in the
I don't
entire
know if you
thing.
can explain to me this in a nutshell, but if you lose 15 great players, how do these guys step up in the Georgia Bulldog program?
Well, I mean, a lot of these defensive players have gotten reps behind those guys. I mean, Kirby has done a good job of rotating guys in and getting people significant snaps, not just those 5 first rounders and the other guys that win as well. I mean, he's gotten some freshmen have played. The defensive backfield's really young. Some linebackers on the edge have gotten some significant playing time. One guy got arrested, so like his spot just kind of fell off, and it was just kind of a rotating door of like 2 or 3, young guys. So I mean, he's gotten a lot. A lot of people have gotten a lot of reps. So he does a good job of developing that, and then practice every day is just super competitive because he recruits the best high school players every year. So I mean, there's natural raw talent coming in there, and he's developing those guys at practice, and it's just highly competitive.
It's just a weird element though, because I mostly watch the NFL. I see college here and there, but I don't understand college that much, right? Because the weird element is you literally have your players for 3 or 4 years, and then they're gone. Yeah. But in the NFL, you have to try and keep them.
Yeah, I mean, nowadays with free agency and trades being demanded as frequently as they are, I mean, you almost have to have that element of recruiting just to keep those guys on board. More so than ever at the pro level has been recruiting. Recruiting free agents, recruiting your own guys. I mean, the college game is starting to mimic the pro game as far as like the transfer portal and the way they're able to pay players now. And then the NFL is starting to go back the other way where you're having to like recruit guys to stay on board, and hey, you're having to talk them into taking more team-friendly deals so you can sign other people and things like that. And you're having to make some tough decisions, like Kansas City with Tyreek Hill, Tennessee with AJ Brown, and Green Bay with Devontae Adams. These guys that are commanding huge salaries. You're having to kind of play with money, and you're having to kind of play with recruiting, and they're all like college and NFL are more intertwined than they've ever been as far as the way it goes.
Does it feel good to see your Georgia Bulldogs succeed in the NFL? If
absolutely.
Pickens goes off and you're like, that's our guy, that's my guy.
Yeah, I mean, that's a huge recruiting pitch too. I mean, look, like the draft weekend was one big recruiting commercial for the Georgia Bulldogs. I mean, 15 guys get drafted. You have a punter go 4th round. I mean, it's insane. These high school kids are sitting there watching it going, okay, if I go there, I don't even have to start. I can play in the NFL. Like our backup, we had a backup inside linebacker get picked in the 5th round to the Dolphins. He was the first. I mean, he was the 3rd inside linebacker. He was the first guy that rotated in.
Man, I need to start watching college because this stuff is exciting me to watch college.
You do. I mean, if you watch college, you'll kind of see who's coming up through the ranks now, and you'll kind of get an idea of like, okay, Pittsburgh needs this. Okay, all right, this guy at NC State is great, or this guy at Alabama, or out in Southern California, USC or UCLA, just wherever. I mean, you just kind of keep an eye on it. And
no, I agree with Corby. It is good to watch because you do watch these talents coming through, and you think, yeah, he'd be a great Steeler and someone I'd love to see. You just got to be careful when you develop sort of your draft crushes on certain people, and then they end up going somewhere else. Like, I mean, I follow Penn State in the college game, so I really would love to have seen Jahan Dotson or Jaquan Brisker come to the Steelers, but obviously they've gone elsewhere. Yeah. And then Travis Jones was another one. I know he's not Penn State; he was UConn, but he was someone I really liked, and he went to the Ravens, which was just like, oh god.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, you're a true Pennsylvania guy through and through. Oh, and I like that. I like the dedication to the state of Pennsylvania. But another. I mean, it helps also recruiting that 32 of the draft picks were born and bred from the state of Georgia. So, I mean, it's crazy. Oh, yeah. And it's Texas is a bigger state, like land wise and population wise, but Georgia has more NFL draftees per capita than any state in the United States. So it's a pretty good deal for the University of Georgia, being the flagship university of the state of Georgia, to get those guys.
I just had a thought, Owen. We might need to take our show on the road, come over to America and tour every college and just go meet all the prospects, mate. The Syndicate tour.
Like, yeah, do it.
We'll start at Georgia.
Start in Athens. Start in Athens. We kick off against University of Oregon in the Chick-fil-A kickoff in Atlanta at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. So
we'll go and get a bus like John Madden, and put a studio in it.
There you go. Put your faces on the side of it.
Oh yeah.
I'll scare people away. Just marks.
They're like, who are these Looney Tunes? What are they doing over here? Mate.
I suppose you guys, though, the big rivalry again this year is going to be with Bama.
It always is. I mean, Georgia, Florida is always a knockdown, drag out. But Georgia, Alabama, that usually play them for all the marbles, so it's a little bit more intense. Right now, used to be kind of more of a friendly rivalry, but now it's more intense because there's always a lot on the line when we play Alabama.
Can you answer this question too? Do they hit harder, don't they, in college? I've seen some highlights. I reckon they hit harder in college. I think they play harder than they do.
They do. They play harder, and then there's just such a discrepancy between teams sometimes that sometimes you see these harder hits because people at Alabama are more developed than people at Vanderbilt or Duke or places that have. It just depends on who your strength coach is. It's more of like a hands-on with the coaching staff. Like, you have a strength guy in the building, and those guys basically live in the weight room there. And some programs are better than others. The NFL, those guys are on their own, so they're all the same, which it doesn't look like they're hitting harder. I mean, obviously they're full-grown men, they're hitting harder, but it just doesn't appear that way because in college there's a discrepancy between strength programs.
But even the stadiums are just so
the stadiums are insane.
I've been to Pittsburgh in Heinz Field. It was amazing, but I do want to go to a college game just to see the atmosphere.
Go to Happy Valley up at Penn State.
The white. I remember watching the whiteout game against Auburn this year, and it was just over 100,000. It was incredible.
102,000 just going nuts. Neyland Stadium in Knoxville, they have 104,000. And it's all bright orange. That place gets loud. Like go
That's
to
what I
Sanford
like about
Stadium,
it.
go to Alabama, go to Auburn. Auburn's are really loud. Go to the Swamp down in Florida. Visit all these, like, they call them temples, basically football temples, and they're all just crazy in their own way.
Yeah, that's what I like about it, because you won't get that in Jacksonville. You know what I mean? Like, the fans won't come out there like that.
The best game in Jacksonville is Georgia, Florida.
Really?
They play that game every year in Jacksonville, and it's a 50-50 split with the stadium. You have half red, half blue.
Wow.
Right.
I mean, it's right down the middle too. You can see
any scuffles in the crowd? Any college kids getting
sure. I'm sure there's scuffles everywhere. People throwing stuff. I mean, it's crazy. It's nuts.
It's crazy.
Fans are more passionate with college for some, especially down here in the South. They're way more passionate than anywhere.
Yeah. The SEC is the conference, isn't it? At the end of the day,
as of right now, it is. And then we're about to expand to 16 teams, welcoming Texas and Oklahoma in the fold. They're about to get a dose of what SEC life is like. But I implore you to go at least visit every SEC stadium. You don't have to go to Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt's not really that exciting, but you can go. Well, Nashville's a fun city, so.
I'd love to go to Nashville.
But going to a Vanderbilt game is probably not high on your priority list. But going to the Horseshoe at Ohio State, going to the Big House in Michigan, going to Happy Valley, go to the Coliseum, go to the Rose Bowl, go to Notre Dame Stadium, go to Texas, Oklahoma, go visit those games. Baton Rouge, Tiger Stadium. There's two stadiums they call Death Valley, LSU and Clemson, both really loud, both really raucous environments. You should go to those. It's ridiculous.
I have to put it on my list as well as going to Heinz Field, because I haven't made it to Pittsburgh yet. So I'll have to definitely put it on my list going to a college game. Happy Valley's definitely on the list. We're going to watch Penn State, but somewhere down south be good, like Georgia or maybe Bama, maybe.
Yeah, both great environments. I mean, Bama's right at 100,000, and they get loud.
That's like 100,000 people is like where I live.
Just imagine all of those people in one place going crazy.
The population of where I live.
In England, they can't. In England, when I tell people in England that listen to me, I bore about college football in the States and the crowds they get, they just think they just can't believe it, because here, there's university competition, and we have like university competition in all our sports, but no one goes to watch it other than a couple of students and their parents. Right. It's just not a big thing. Whereas when I say, I was watching a college game, there's 100,000 people watching a college game. They're just like, what? I just can't believe it.
People will pack out college games, and at least in the South. You can't speak for everywhere, but in the South, people will pack out college games, and there'll be half the stadium capacity for a Falcons game or a Jaguars game or a Dolphins game. Like, the pro sports in the South come second to college sports, or at least to college football.
That's crazy. Absolutely crazy, man.
Yeah. I mean, it's in the passion level, I mean, just think of every game. Whereabouts in England are you, Owen?
I live in the Midlands of England, near Birmingham, Coventry, that sort of area.
Okay. I'm trying to think of a good football example here. I guess if you went to Anfield for a Liverpool Everton match, and like the intensity,
definitely,
that's every Saturday.
That's crazy.
I know from watching. I've watched quite a few of the Penn State games on different channels over here, and the noise and the intensity is absolutely incredible. It's just amazing. And to know like this is basically like our universities in England playing each other. It's just it's mad.
It's those age kids playing in that atmosphere. It's just insane.
Do you know what we did at our universities?
What'd you do?
Nothing. There's no programs. I went to university for 1 year, and there's no culture like that. I literally went home for lunch because you didn't hang out with anyone. You just went, you had mates there, but you went to class, and that was it. Yeah. Our universities are like, it's just something you go to get your degree done. It is no culture. Like, I love the idea of the American culture of like, I should have been American, really. I don't know what God did to me, put me in Australia. But if I would have been American, I would have been like, because your campuses are like the size of my city. Like, they're massive. Your gymnasiums are the size of my high schools. You know, like everything. You guys have like big money over there, and just everything is just like, if you're going to do it right. Yeah. Even your football fields reminds me of like the movies, and like you pan out and you've got that big water tower and you got the stands and the big football. We got nothing like that over here. We might have like a park for like football for people to play rugby league, you know? It's just, you guys know how to do it, like college wise. What do you have? You have Friday Night Lights, college, and NFL. The whole weekend is football. Like, I love that. Like,
exactly.
We need that bus on, mate. We need to start working on the bus over there.
I mean, there's high schools in Texas that are drawing 20, 30,000 fans.
Yeah, that's amazing. My mate who lives in Pittsburgh, he goes down to the high school game. I said, do you know, I said to him, do you know who plays? He said, no. I was like, well, why are you going? We just go to cheer the team on. I went, we don't do that here. You need to know you need to know a relative. Like, I wouldn't go down the road to cheer on the local high school team.
Right.
You need to know someone. But he's like, what do you mean? I was like, well, you know, we just go to cheer him on. I'm like, the passion and the culture and the American culture around the football is so inviting for fans like me in Australia and for Owen, because I know if we ever get there to a college game or whatever, they would be open arms. You'd be like, whoa, let's party. Let's have, let's talk. Like, it's just so much fun, man.
Yeah. It's tailgating before, like you get there several hours before the game. You set up shop, you cook out, you drink, you do whatever. That's the culture. That's how fans get ready for the game.
Yeah, because you can't drink in the game, can you? There's no drinks allowed, is there, in college games?
Some stadiums will serve.
Okay.
They're starting to serve alcohol during the games, but I mean, giving a bunch of drunk college kids alcohol during a game,
you probably don't even need it. Because when I went and saw the Pittsburgh versus Ravens on Christmas Day, I had one beer at the game. I had several beers before and after, but one beer while watching. I didn't need it. There was too much energy. I was just too focused on the game. I didn't need anything.
Yeah, I mean, you drink one at some point, and then you're good to go. And halftime, you get a little snack, and you're ready. In college games, you don't leave your seat.
Really?
You sit down at halftime. That's the only time you sit down.
Yeah, I've seen that in Penn State where there's fans up the whole time and then just making noise, yelling, screaming.
Who's the one college that they have to stand up? The whole section stands up. Is it Texas A&M? It's like tradition.
They all stand up now. You might be thinking A&M. There's some other traditions that go, but I mean, just about everywhere stands up now at this point.
Fair enough.
Nice, cool. So, just one final question, Corey, before we sort of wrap this up. Of all those Georgia Bulldogs that were selected for the NFL, who do you think is going to make the biggest impression this year on the NFL?
Oh, that's for a variety of reasons. That answer could be, one of six people. I think an immediate impact to a good to make a good receiver room great, I think it's going to be George Pickens. To make a great defensive line elite, it's going to be Jordan Davis over there in Philly. I think also, Channing Tindall adds depth to the Miami Dolphins linebacking core. James Cook is going to be a tremendous fit in the running back rotation at Buffalo. He's going to make the passing game even that much more better. So it just depends on what you're looking at and what kind of impact that team needs. But, I think Pickens is up there, Jordan Davis, Nakobe Dean, who are actually on the same team in Philly. And then you have James Cook also. And Travon Walker, obviously, if you're the number one overall pick, you're going to make an impact. So, just anybody drafted in the first round, I think, went to a spot where they're going to be leaned on heavily.
Fantastic. So before we let you go, Corey, is anything you'd like to plug? Anything you'd like to share with the Syndicate audience?
Well, actually, I would like to ask y'all a question. When it comes from Australia or England, what's gotten you into the game of football? Mark, you said you've been watching for 20 years. What about it? Like you saw it and it was like, okay, this is my sport.
So I'll go first. I love it. I absolutely, it is my passion. It's like my religion now. The biggest thing that got me into football was the Madden game Sega when I played with my brothers.
Mhm.
I think it was 1996 or 1995, but they turned them out every year. And I saw John Madden football when the 2-bit screen and you threw the ball up and if you caught it, your icon turned orange. Yeah. And it was the whistle. It was like, oh, whoop, and it was choosing the A and B for the plays. And that was like, what is this? Like, this is kind of fun when I was a kid, right? Then the biggest turning point is why I'm a massive fan is the movies. Around the time, I think it was the 2000s, was I think Friday Night Lights came out, not the show, the movie, the original one, yeah. the big fella who had a heart attack or whatever. He got in a bit of trouble. I think his name was Bub or something. And then it was like, Remember the Titans is one of my favorite movies of all time. Great message, great movie. Denzel Washington, he's one of the best actors ever. Yes. I actually went to Gettysburg based on that movie. So I went to Gettysburg in 2019. Yeah. With my dad. And the reason why I wanted to go was the history, because that movie told me about when they did that run. They did that run during in the morning. They pretty much told them to man up and do what people fought for this country. So that message, that football, the way that it's filmed, the way that the American football is filmed is just amazing. Yeah. Like it is honestly probably the easiest and most theatrical sport you can film. I think even to a certain extent, maybe even baseball, but football like that, the hard-hitting tackles, remember the placements, Keanu Reeves' movie, I can't remember Waterboy.
Waterboy. Yeah. Waterboy is awesome with Sandler.
Those movies, man, all those movies.
Love that.
Around that time, and even when I was little too, like the Little Giants with the kids now, and you wanted the coach to beat his brother, and his brother was an ass hat, you know what I'm saying? Like he was like a bad guy. And the brother's like, and he's like, okay, I want to go back and beat my brother to win. All those things happened. And then I got to the point where I was like, I need to choose a team. Right. And I was like, I didn't know anyone. I had I was looking around maybe like Raiders, Cowboys, those kind of things. But what drew me to the Steelers was the colors, the black and gold. Yeah. Then once I got there, I started to, once you jump on, you never jump off. So from about like 2000, I think 4, 5, and then like 2008 was when I went hardcore. Like after Debo's run, I was like, oh, this is my team.
Yeah, you got 2 Super Bowls when you jumped in.
Yeah, and I still didn't know the game that well.
Maybe you need to be a Falcons fan so we can get 2 Super Bowls. Seems like you're good luck, man.
I'll tell you what, Michael Vick was definitely a chance for a lot of Australians and UK guys to jump on to be a Falcons fan because how exciting it was. I just jumped on because of the colours.
Yeah. We'll loan him you, Corey. We'll loan you Mark for a season.
Yeah. Come on, Mark. I got some stuff.
I could do it. I could do it as long as it's not the Bengals, man. I always say there's only 31 teams in the league. There's no.
He's got me.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
For me, it started in '88. We got Channel 4 over here, got like a highlights package with Mick Luckhurst was presenting it. Just that's how I got watching the highlights. Love the way they played the game, love the hitting. I was the attitude as well that came with it. And then I remember the Super Bowl in '88, watching the Bengals 49ers Super Bowl, and the drive that Montana took them on to win them the Super Bowl, the pass to John Taylor at the end, just the drama of that. And that sort of all hooked me into the NFL. And once I got hooked into the NFL and got into sort of the passion, the drama of it, I thought, well, I've got to choose a team to support. And I think I've told Mark before, I'm a bit of a history nerd. So I went back through history, looked at lots of different teams, and just the 70s Steelers, just the personalities, the way they played the game, the physicality. The city I come from in the northeast of England is very much a working class city where we like our players to play with passion and fight and heart. Sunderland and Pittsburgh reminded me a lot of that. And sort of one of the reasons why I chose the Steelers, that, and obviously the black and gold as well was a colour scheme that attracted me. So, and then there was the link with Chuck Noll was still the coach at that time, so there was a link back to the '70s Steelers. But yeah, I just got into the NFL and that, and just love the passion, the stadiums, and I've sort of fallen out of love with soccer and things in this country. So yeah, that's why I got into it.
Nice. NFL films probably certainly helped a lot of that too. They made the NFL cinematic, and brought you into the game that, even as early as the 70s, that most people didn't see. So that was a big reason. Ed Sable was a big reason for a lot of people drawing in the casual fan,
100%.
and then, the Monday Night Football stuff. I mean, just the NFL, the way they've done their outreach to not only the diehards, but the casual fans, and then eventually the international fans with the. Are you seeing a lot more like British fans, latching on to teams like you did because of the games in London?
Yeah, I've seen a growth. You see a few more NFL tops around now, more than you used to. You see, there's a bigger number. I can't remember. I was reading about it the other day, and the increase in NFL support in the UK has grown massively, and certainly the attendance at Wembley games. It's obviously very, very bipartisan because you've got fans from all over. But the Dolphins are very popular over here. The Cowboys, the Giants are very popular here as well, and Steelers are very popular here as well. And we've also got a few Jaguars fans because obviously there's the links between Shahid Khan, who owns the Jaguars, owns Fulham Football Club in this country. So
and they play there just about every year. So they're kind of the de facto London team.
But no, you do see a big increase. I mean, where I work, you see I see a couple of people in Packers shirts quite a lot. Jacksonville Jaguars shirts, Dolphins shirts. So there is a growth, I think, over here in the UK in interest in the NFL.
That's awesome.
We're the opposite here in Australia. If I go, and I've given up now. So I used to talk football with like people who wear shirts and like Packers or whatever. On where I live on the Central Coast. I live like 5 minutes from the beach, all around me, right? Mm-hmm. And where we live here on the coast, we have like a lot of Raider fans because the Raider fans, not Raider, like people wear Raiders gear because they think it looks cool. It does look cool, like the silver, the black. They got the hat, they got the shirt, right? Mm-hmm. The minute you go and try and talk to them, you say, "Hey, how the Raiders going to go this year?" They look at you funny and go, "Who? What? You ask them." I went into like one of the big sports stores here, and I was talking to the girl behind the counter, just having a little chat, flirting away. And I was like, you should honestly next time a guy comes in to buy a Raider cap, I said, ask him 2 questions. Tell me who the coach is and tell me who the late GM was. If you can't answer those, you can't buy it. And she laughed her head off because like these people, they don't know who they are. No, they have no idea who John Madden is. They have no idea who Al Davis is. Like no idea. And they're going there and wearing Raider. I've seen guys wear Raider gear and like New York Giant pants. Who are you? Choose one. They're just
a confused NFL person. So now maybe they'll start listening to you, Mark, and listen to this show, and they'll maybe you'll.
Well, I just bagged them out. So probably not. I just.
They might just listen in spite, and then all of a sudden they get hooked.
Oh, there's a few of them too, because apparently I don't know football, do I? But no, it's funny here. Like in Australia, it's I would say out of the country, maybe like 5 or 10% would follow it. Now, there is still a lot of fans in Australia that say, oh, it's too slow and this, and you just like deal with it. It's one of the best games. For me, why I like the game is just the game of gridiron itself. I like how it's 11-on-11. I like the fact that any play anything can happen. There's so many different things happening with the O-line versus the D-line, with the cornerback versus, hopefully our good receiver Pickens, that the safety can come down in the box, safety can stay back, they can miss, they can change plays all the time. Are you going to run the ball? Are you going to fake it? Are you going to flea flick it? Anything can happen. And you needed to find and you're a coach too, I don't know if this works, but find their weakest player and exploit that 100%. That's what I love about it, is just finding that niche.
And then when you exploit it and they figure it out, then you got to, it's a simultaneous 11 individual chess matches happening all at once. And then you have one guy trying to put it all together. And that's the challenge of it. That's why it's such a great sport. But I guess over there in Australia, it's all about the AFL, Australian rules football.
Yeah, it's the AFL. We have rugby league and rugby, 2 different codes, but very similar games. More of a faster game, but I'll tell you right now, what the rugby league is doing is absolutely horrible. We are getting into the flags, the penalties. We are going to the board to check the tries. If did it touch the blade of grass? Did it not? We are stopping the game a lot, and the fans are getting pretty aggravated over that, because the reason that some fans don't like watching the American football is because the game stops too much and it's 3 hours or 3.5 hours. And we all know why that is, because it's ad revenue for the media and stuff like that. But it's a faster game. But I just love the American football that, I'm a big defensive guy. I love that defense. If you have TJ Watt and Highsmith on the edge, and if those 2 fellas on their game, they can change the whole plan of their offensive attack. If you can't stop TJ, what do you do?
You're being for a long day if you can't stop TJ, which most coordinators are in for a long day and a lot of sleepless nights the week before trying to plan for TJ Watt. So, but to answer your question earlier, what do I want to plug?
Yeah.
The Bleav in Georgia Dawgs podcast, obviously Israel Troop and I at TroopStar28 is my co-host. We do that every week. I'm also on a few other shows as well as a host. But the Beast of the East, which is kind of more of a encompassing SEC show, SEC After Dark is kind of the same thing. The SEC is in two divisions, the East and the West. So I have a more Eastern Division based show on Monday nights. We go live on YouTube and then we post the audio portion of it later. And then SEC After Dark is all encompassing league-wide type show. And we get off topic, obviously, with all of these shows. But that's also live on Wednesday nights during the season. The Illegal Motion podcast, which we're, all of college football. I host with a Wisconsin grad and an Iowa grad. And we do that show. And then, and of course, Bleav in Georgia Dawgs. Those are my 4 shows that I host on.
Busy man.
That's right. When I come home from football practice, it's hang out with a 6-year-old, put him to bed, and then do my shows.
Yeah.
So,
that one. But no, guys, seriously, if Steeler fans listening, give those podcasts a listen. I was listening. I'd listened to Bleav in Georgia Dawgs the other day when I was out walking my dog, and it was a fantastic podcast. Corey, I'm saying that it was a really, really good podcast with you in Israel.
I appreciate it. And that's at Bleav in Dawgs if you want to follow the show. At Coach Burton 36, which is on the screen here, is my personal Twitter. And then at Bleav in Dawgs on Instagram as well. So, hey, this was fun, guys.
Yeah, thank you so much, Corey, for coming on. And thank you. We really enjoyed it. Thanks for giving us more information about George Pickens and also about college football as well. We've really enjoyed that. And I'm sure the audience will have enjoyed it as well.
Well, if you guys ever come this way and want to do a Southern tour, just let me know. I'll meet you in Athens, and I'll show you around what UGA is all about.
I reckon we have to. I reckon we have to build that bus and just go on the road.
Do it. I mean,
I think that's it. And
do it.
Look, the internet's internet. We can do anything on the internet now. We just do a whole studio on the road. It'll be fine. But yeah, thanks for coming in, Corey. Stick around for a little bit. I'm going to end this part, and then we'll do the mailbag right now. With we had three questions, Owen. So it's been a long show. We have 3 questions to do. We'll do a mailbag right now. All right, guys. With big thanks to Georgia Bulldogs or Bleav in Bulldogs for Corey there. What a great guy, hey Owen. What a fantastic bloke.
Oh, fantastic! Knows so much about the college game and about the NFL game, and obviously great information about my prediction for offensive rookie of the year, George Pickens.
I hope so as well, man. That was so much fun. But now it's time to end the video. We will be doing the mailbag segment.
Yeah.
So we have the first question here. I think I've got 4 in a row. The last one's a bit of a fun one, and I'm going to let you tee off on that. But the first question we have is from Rocky A. He says, "My question is, if Trubisky and Pickett win quarterback 1 and quarterback 2 in any order, personally he hopes Pickett wins QB1. Does our team trade or release Rudolph and keep the 7th round kid as a 3rd QB?" Oladukin.
Yeah, I would love to keep Oladukin because I think it's like you were saying, Mark, the other day, that if we try and put him on the practice squad, we'll lose him. I think he's that good. The one thing about Rudolph, I've listening to some people talk about him, and I was listening to Arthur Motes actually talk about Rudolph the other day, and he was saying that the issue that we've got at the moment is there any trade capital in Rudolph? If he is, if the Steelers don't rate him, why is anyone going to give us a draft pick for him? And I think that was what he was saying. And I think that is the one concern. Would we get anything for him, given the fact that we've obviously shown no faith in him? Is another franchise going to show any faith in him as well? That's what I would say to that one, I think.
Well, we have a saying here in Australia, and I won't swear. I haven't swear on this podcast, and I never will. But we have a saying here in Australia, like, when you're eating something, it doesn't taste right to your personal standards. This tastes like crap. Do you want it? So if it tastes bad for me, why would you want it, right? But we say that, and it's just like, what the hell? But I think at this point, hopefully they put Oladukin to number 3. But what Pittsburgh may do is put him on the practice squad. But I think move Oladukin to 3 and let Rudolph either be traded or cut. I think he's for bringing in 3 QBs. We talked about it last week. 3 QBs. It's a lot of pressure for Rudolph to be, hey, Rudolph, you're the guy. But we brought in 3 guys. I don't know. I think it's going to be, I think for me, it will be Mitchell Trubisky 1 and then Pickett. But let's move on to question number 2, or mailbag 2. James Shackleton says, who on the defense do you think has the biggest breakthrough season? That's a good question. It's a very good question.
I'm hoping that it's Alex Highsmith. I think he got a lot of unfair criticism last year from people. Saying that he didn't have a good season last season, that he didn't live up to his promise last season. Which I think was very unfair, because if you look at a lot of the sacks, I can't remember where I heard this now, but if you look at a lot of the sacks, he was 1 step behind TJ Watt a lot of the time. Just he wasn't as quick as Watt. And you know what? You're not going to be that guy. TJ Watt is the best defensive player in the league, I think. But I think Alex Highsmith has the potential this year, with the defense improving, with the defensive line improving as well, and the fact that he plays on Cam's side. I think that Highsmith could have an absolutely massive year this year.
I agree with that, but I want to switch to middle linebacker. I hope it's Miles Jack. I kind of want to see Miles Jack come to the Steel City and be successful, because of being playing for Jacksonville for so long, or 3 or 4 years, whatever he did, and having the rough year last year, and there's no winning culture there. I want to see Miles Jack go out there and thump heads, and if he can drop back into coverage, get a few picks and pass deflections, and start to take care of some of the receivers who come over the middle, or tight ends or running backs who try and escape. I want to see him have a breakout year, because he's part of the Steelers system. That's the big reason why I think he may have a breakout year, because he's with a winning organization. Would you not agree?
Absolutely. And I read somewhere today about the fact that a few people who obviously follow the Steelers and watch a lot of Steeler football were drawing some comparisons between Miles Jack and Ryan Shazier. In terms of the way they play the game, the mobility, the way he hits.
Shazier was amazing. Shazier was
before he went down. Favorite players, and I love Ryan Shazier. My dog's even named Shadow Shazier. That's how much I love Ryan Shazier.
But he was an amazing player all over the field. Had a very, very, very unfortunate accident, and the Steelers took care of him like we do with a lot of players. I think he's still even around. He's doing some business things, and I think he's writing books and that kind of stuff. He's doing some certain things in the social media, but it was a very shame to see him go down, and so thankful for Shazier to actually walk again. But I see some similarities. I think he's pretty fast. I think Miles Jack is probably even faster than Bush. I think he may be even more instinctive than Devin Bush. I think this will give Devin Bush a kick up the bum to say, hey, mate, you need to do a better job, and having a good duo, because we could have been a really good defense with Shazier. So if Miles Jack can break out, I think it's going to be fantastic for our defense. And overall, those 2 players are going to be stars. Let's go into question 3. That's the wrong one, isn't it? Let's get this one. Oh, you know what I did?
What did you do?
Look, I'm not going to cut that out, but that's a YouTube error, guys. Do not do that. The same question over and over. All right. Okay, let's go with this one. So this isn't a question, and I got to find the other question. I will soon. But while we talk about this, this is the question, a comment I found the other day on the Browns, right? Yeah. It says here, from Steeler fan, the tide has officially turned. The Browns are coming for that bleep. Be prepared, Kenny Pickett. What are your thoughts on that while I find the other question?
Oh, man. You know what? The Brown is, I know he's gone now, but the Browns is the Browns, man. They're a standing joke. They really are. They're going to be bottom of the division again this year. I'm going out on a limb now. Bottom of the division, losing record. Yeah, they've got Deshaun Watson, but how many games is he going to be banned for? They've got Nick Chubb, but the wide receivers, they've got Amari Cooper and is it Peoples Jones or something he's called? I can't remember the guy's name. I just do not rate the Browns. I just don't think they're capable of winning. I don't think their offense is effective enough. I don't think I think the Watson trade is going to cripple them for the long term. The fact they're going to have to pay him so much money, and they've lost all those draft picks. And I was listening today to someone talking about the whole Deshaun Watson and the banning Deshaun Watson. I think it was locked on. I think it was on an NFL podcast, and they were saying that the NFL is in a very difficult position because obviously those 22 charges that are against Watson haven't yet been resolved, but something's got to be done about Watson because these are sexual misconduct charges, and we all know that at the moment that is a massive thing in America. And there was a baseball player, I can't remember the guy's name, who was banned for a whole season for something very similar, who had less charges against him. So the NFL can't be seen to be weak on this. It's got to be seen to be strong on this. So this is a massive time for the NFL. They could Watson should be banned for the whole season, maybe.
Especially when they give that bloke who gambled $5,000 on it gave him a year ban, and this is probably completely worse. Now I always say, if he did it wrong, there needs to be consequences. If he wasn't at fault, then you go from there too. I'm going to wait. I'm going to leave it alone with a 10-foot pole. But if you did it wrong, there needs to be consequences. And I found my last question with a bit of a stuff up, but I got it from from Jake Crosby. This one's a good one. This will end with this.
Okay.
Who is gonna wear the green dot on defense? From Jake Crosby in our comment section.
Last year I think it was Bush, but I personally I would give it to Miles Jack because then I think he's the person who's never going to come off the field. I think he's the best inside linebacker we've got, and it's usually the inside linebacker that wears it. I think Minka would be good, but Minka's too far back. So yeah, I would definitely go with Miles Jack.
I agree. If you give it to Miles Jack and I think he's worn the green dot before in the past, then that gives the ability for Devin Bush for pretty much no excuses, because then you have no distractions besides doing your role and your job. You're not overthinking things. You have to talk to overall get everyone set. Miles Jack can set the lineup. He can set the cornerbacks up, set pretty much up. But also on the defense, we really have TJ being rogue and do what he wants to do. We have Cam who does his job. Then we have in the middle, Miles Jack set everyone up, and then Minka is also setting people up too. We have a lot of veteran guys, but I think to relay the play, to set things up on defense, give it to Miles Jack. He's got a full off season with the Steelers. I think he'll be the green dot, and that gives no excuse for Devin Bush to, I had too much on my plate. No, you have a certain role to fill, and you go out there and excel, right?
Yeah, I agree, 100%. 100% agree with you, Mark.
Anything you want to end on this final show? It's been a long one, over an hour, I think, but that was a great podcast. We Bleav in Dawgs with Corey. Any final words before we end, Owen?
I just want to finish with thanks. I just think thank you to all the subs we've had. We've been growing over the last sort of 28 days, up to, I think it was 834 last time I looked. Just thank you so much to everyone for your support. Keep spreading the word about Steelers Syndicate. We don't chat rubbish here on Steelers Syndicate. We talk about Steelers. We're real Steeler fans, and we're not gonna chat rubbish that some channels do.
Those channels are just ridiculous, and there's only one we're chatting about, which is one channel, and I just don't even know how they are a channel actually, because I'm not a fan of them, and they don't seem to be a fan of the Steelers either. Okay,
yeah. I think they're over. Mark, I think they're totally overrated.
Hey man, if you made it this far, you know what's happening. You know what we're talking about. Okay, guys, thank you for checking out the Pittsburgh Steelers Syndicate and the Steel Syndicate podcast with my co-host, my mate Owen and Mark. Different direction, man. We have Australia being me and Owen from England land over there. He shipped my kind away. He said, "We don't want you convicts."
Yeah, we sent your relatives away, Mark.
He said, you stole a loaf of bread. Life, go on the boat and see you later. So,
or a sheep.
Yeah, exactly, mate. We stole bananas or whatever. It's an interesting podcast, I think, having my take in Australia, your take in UK, and we talk about American football. We had Corey here talking about Georgia. We talked about Pickens. We talked about the Mailbag segment. We're doing it all. We thank everyone for the subs. And, yeah, we appreciate everything you guys are doing for us and in the comments. And we're trying to build that Steeler community because we are fans of the football team. We are a football fan-driven channel. So thanks, guys, for checking out Pittsburgh Steelers Syndicate. And here we go, Steelers. Here we go.